There are many different ways to use quotes in your writing, but we're going to work today with one of the most common and best ways of using someone else's words directly. To do this, we're going to work with something that we've worked with before, this quote from Lisa Delpit's book, Other People's Children. From this quote on page 24, she says, "Those with power are frequently least aware of or least willing to acknowledge its existence. Those with less power are often most aware of its existence." Now, in the book, this is a heading, one of 5 rules that she uses, and since it's a big idea for her, if we were writing about this, then it might be something that we wanted to include directly. This is a pretty efficient quote. This is a pretty clear statement, and so it might be something that we wanted to include. If we did, we need to look at the surrounding context. So while this quote appears on page 24, it's explained more on page 27, and these are statements that I've paraphrased from page 27. 1. Stating things directly reveals that one person has power and another does not. 2. When people with power deny it to themselves, they also shy away from articulating standards directly. And 3. Refusing to clearly articulate standards cements the current power structure. These are all points that she's making in her book. So, how can we take these ideas and use them as context to introduce this idea as a quote? Well, this is what I came up with as a way of working the quote in as the conclusion of those ideas. According to Delpit, clear standards reveal power differentials and unclear standards hide them. But just because a standard is hidden doesn't mean it isn't used. Now, you'll note here I have an in-text citation, and I've referenced the page number. Now, I've referenced the page number here because I've already mentioned the author's last name, Delpit, and so in MLA formatting, I don't need to include the author's last name again. I'm also signaling by including this page number in text citation here that what comes after this is actually my idea, and that's indicated again when I start the next sentence with "this implies." By saying that an idea is implied, I am moving from a direct paraphrase to an interpretation. I believe this is implied by this text, and I signal that with that in-text citation, moving from Lisa Delpit's ideas into my own. This implies that teachers who hide standards put their own sense of educational enlightenment and self-righteousness above the well-being of their students. It's no wonder Delpit laments that those with power are frequently least aware of or least willing to acknowledge its existence. Now, you'll note here that I have another in-text citation because I have used more information from Lisa Delpit. It's obvious that I've used that, one, because of the quotation marks you can see. The quotation marks are indicating this is directly lifted from this material. The citation, which is again just page numbers because I've mentioned the author already for MLA format, is there to show where it's coming from. Now you can see a difference between the initial paraphrase of those ideas that I have and the quotes. Even though I'm paraphrasing in the first part, I still include the in-text citation because those ideas are from Lisa Delpit. Following with my interpretation, I don't need an in-text citation, but then when I have the quotation, I again need an in-text citation. Note too that I have the period after the quotation marks. This is called couching the quote in your own sentence, and it's one of the ways that I think it best indicates or best shows that you have taken ownership of the ideas in the text. Even if you're quoting the material, you're still putting it into your own sentence so that it flows more smoothly. One problem with a lot of writing that I've seen, especially first-year writing, is that quotes are not sufficiently introduced. They're just sort of thrown out as, here's an idea and think about it whatever you will. When you couch the quote in your own sentence, you necessarily have an introduction to the quote, and you're using your words to place it in context. Note too that I've bracketed the T at the beginning of this statement. That's because it exists in the middle of my sentence, and so it wouldn't be a capital letter. Because I'm couching it within my own sentence, I have to match the grammar and the mechanics to the sentence that it's in. That means a lowercase t, and I've shown that that's not in the original quote by doing brackets. You can do this with other information like changing verb tense or adding an s if you need to make something plural. But if you end up doing too many brackets, it's more likely that you don't need a quote there and you probably just needed a paraphrase. Let's take a look at a few rules that we have for couching a quote in our own sentences. First, the sentence must read grammatically correctly. You can't couch a quote and it change things about the sentence like verb agreement or number or anything like that. It's got to read grammatically correctly, just like any other sentence. It also has to be very clear where your thoughts end and the thoughts of your source's author or authors begin. That separation is paramount in writing, and if it's not clear what's your thoughts and what's your author, the source's thoughts, then you need to go back through and revise that. You also have to use an in-text citation when paraphrasing, summarizing, and when quoting. There is no time where you would skip using an in-text citation, no matter what, if you are including information from a source. Even if you quote it, even if you put it into your own words, even if it's just a summary of a major idea, it's got to have an in-text citation. And that in-text citation has to clearly show where that information is coming from. Also, the in-text citations have to match with full citations. Those full citations will be at the end of your work in a works cited page or on a references page for both MLA and APA. Now, Chicago and Turabian are a little different, but in the coming weeks and months, we'll make an additional video for those. Thank you very much.